Hello and welcome to Petrol Media Inc. I'm your host, Terrence Anderson, and today I decided I'd give you a glimpse into some of my favorite EQs. Now, arguably, EQing a record is one of the most important things you need to do when it comes to making music in general. You want to make sure you can find the right balance when it comes to a sound. And this is one of the most important things that I use on pretty much a daily basis when it comes to making any kind of production. I figured, why not show you my favorites of all of the ones that I have? Here are 5 EQs and an honorable mention that I use pretty much on every single record. Number 1, SSL Native Channel Strip 2. This plugin is my Swiss Army knife. It is phenomenal. It has a great EQ section. It reminds me of the last time I used an SSL, which was several years back, and it's comfortable. I have to say, if you've never mixed on an SSL console before, you don't understand why almost every hit record has been, I guess you could say in the last 20, 30 years, final mixed on an SSL. There's a reason for it. It's just an easy console. There's no complication. It does exactly what you ask. This EQ is set up in a very simplistic manner. They all overlap each other at certain frequencies, which gives you a lot of flexibility. And one of the beautiful things I love about this is that I don't have to use my eyes to work with this EQ. I can literally just use my ears, which is what we're supposed to be doing, not staring at a parametric EQ and looking at a wavelength and saying, oh, that's the problem. This is perfect for this because this is what everybody did back in the day. The high frequency is perfect range if you want to get some air into your record. The mid frequencies are rock solid. And the bass, this thing will give you the bass you need if you really want it. And of course, it's paired with the other side, the compressor and the expander gate. And the compressor is great for many different reasons that we will discuss in another video, but this channel strip bundle is perfect. You can also switch the dynamics of where things are in the mix, which is perfect if you want to have the compressor first, the EQ, and the filter. Perfect Swiss Army knife plugin. You can even make the sound a little bit wider by basically bringing it to a wider stereo signal. This is used on every single one of my records, at the very least, to get everything to match and sound well together. The Trident A-Range is a specialty EQ. This EQ is great because it's very fixed. It's a fixed EQ. You cannot change the frequencies that it has selected. It only has these frequencies selected. Actually, technically it was sideways with the output at the bottom and this at the top, if I remember correctly. But either way, this EQ is perfect because it boosts colorfully each frequency and the harmonics around it as you pull the frequencies up or down. So you can boost or cut, and it's very fixed in the way it works. On the highs, you have 15K, 12K, 10K, and 8K. High mids, you have 9K, 7K, 5K, and 3K. In the mid lows, you have 2K, 1K, 500, and 250. If you've noticed a pattern, it's basically cutting in half as it goes. 150, 100, 80, and 50. Then you have an interesting feature, which is where it sounds different based on how you cut the high pass. You can have all buttons in on the high pass and the low pass, or you can section off the cuts at certain specific frequencies that are already selected for you. The saturation knob on this is decent. I don't use it very often, and I rarely obviously change the gain unless there's a real reason to do so. But overall, just dealing with the actual faders and the set frequencies are perfect. Most times, I use this EQ just to simply add a little bit of extra color to a mix. The Maag EQ4, what can I say about this plugin? This thing is a monster. You cannot change these frequencies. So as you notice, we've gone from something that's flexible down to something that's not flexible. But that's okay because it serves its purpose. The person who designed this EQ has created an EQ that feeds the subharmonics in your life and the high frequencies. The air band is very interesting. If you set this thing to 40 kilohertz, well above the human hearing range, and then you just start boosting it, you will hear some magic in high end because you're not gonna hear the 40K. What you're gonna hear is the harmonic orders down below the 40K. Basically, all the frequencies that are harmonically matched with 40K below will be pulled up slightly, and it gives it this extra shine on your mix. So a lot of times when I put this on a mix, I'm literally using it for this knob, for the air gain, or I'm using it for the sub because the kick is monstrous when you use this. This is a great EQ just to boost and add some flair to your channels, especially on your kick drums or even on vocals. If you want to open up some vocals, this is great for that because it has very specific frequencies and purpose. The BAX EQ, this is a mastering EQ. I really only use it on my master chain. I don't use it for anything else. The benefit of this is it's a 2-channel EQ and it's focused on very specific frequencies. You can easily adjust based on only those set frequencies. This is why I use it on my master. On the low end, you only have 74, 84, 98, 116, 131, 166, 230, and 350, 361. And I usually only use this for 84. It's a shelf EQ. If you know what a shelf EQ looks like, just to give you an example with another EQ, a shelf EQ is this knob right here. What it does is it boosts things up like a shelf, just like this. Make it a little bit more dramatic so we can see it a little bit better. And as you bring it up, it brings it up like a broad stroke. That's a shelf EQ. So with the BAX, what I do is I set it to 84 or 98 depending on the situation. And then I also do the same thing on the other side. I give it a boost on the high frequencies around 7.1K or 4.8K, usually about 7.1K. And whatever I boost it by, so if I notch it up by 2, I decrease it by 2. Why am I doing that? I'm doing this because you're not supposed to actually change the way the gain is structured on your master out. I'm not trying to affect change. What I'm trying to do is affect the sound. And this helps me to be able to be flexible and adjust the sound accordingly. I'm literally adding a shape to the sound on the highs and the lows without affecting the gain structure of the record. Last but not least, the Waves EQ4. This EQ has a special place for me. I've been using this EQ since, I want to say 2007, 2008, give or take. And it's pretty awesome. It's essentially, from what I can hear, a mimicking of Neve EQ. I believe it's a Neve 1073 EQ, and I might be wrong on this, but either way, this is another one that's got some great frequencies to choose from. Very flexible, very simple. It has an analog button, which I'm not sure what it does so much because I don't really hear the difference. But overall, I thought it was worth mentioning because it's a great simple EQ for adding color to your sound. It's very easy, literally just select the frequency, boost or cut, and you can add a bell curve on the low frequency and the high frequency, and you have some mid-low, mid-high. Both of those, all of this is great. The phase button allows you to flip the phase of the instrument, and of course you can turn the EQ off and on while you have the analog in to hear if you hear a difference. Overall, it's a fairly simple EQ that works to your benefit. Now, as an honorable mention, you really don't need any of these EQs. Just so you know, the main reason why I use the SSL is because it's familiar for me. I've worked in studios before. We usually record on a Neve console or something else, and then we bring it to the SSL and we mix it finally down in the SSL. There's a reason why everybody does that. I've already said that in the video, so I'm not gonna repeat myself. But your natural EQ in your DAW is very, very solid. The one that comes with Logic is amazing. It's a simple parametric EQ. I'm gonna put it here so you can see it on the channel. It's a super simple EQ. If I really just wanted to affect the record and cut things, I can literally just cut it out of the mix. And this is the power of an EQ that is built in to Logic. You can use the shelf to boost the record, or to cut the drums all the way out of there. This is a super simple EQ to use. You have an oversampling option. You can use mid-side on the record if you wanted to use mid-side EQ. You can do EQ pre or post analysis. You can couple the cue or decouple it. It's like most of the time when you're making a record, you do not need fancy EQs. You can simply use the ones that you have built in. So these are the 5 EQs that I prefer to use in a mix. Let me know which one of these are your favorite EQs that you use yourself, or even tell me which EQs you use and prefer. Which DAW are you using? How do you use EQing? And what are the pros and cons of the EQs that you choose in your daily mix? Like, share, and subscribe, and join me next time on Petra Media Inc. Thanks.